Much Ado About Gaming, and I'm realizing I'm having technical issues. Give me 1 second, we'll be right back. Okay, for real this time. Hello, welcome to Much Ado About Gaming. My name is Jessa, and welcome to the show where the gameplay is the thing. Bonus points if you know what that reference is from. So normally at the beginning of the show, we would talk about the news and kind of some upcoming WizKids announcements. We don't have any announcements this week, which is totally okay. It just means we have more big announcements coming soon in the future, so look out for those. But we are going to go straight into our feature presentation. Isn't that fun? I hope everyone is having a wonderful Tuesday. I think Tuesdays are great. Tuesday's the day I get to do my show, so obviously I think Tuesdays are great. And today, we are here to talk about Super-Skill Pinball 4K'd. As you know, we really are excited about Super-Skill Pinball 4K'd. We've been talking about it a lot, and it's releasing soon, so we're going to keep talking about it because we're very excited about it. Super-Skill Pinball 4K'd is a roll-and-write tabletop game from Jeff Engelstein. It plays 1 to 4 players, and it can play actually any number of players, so if you have multiple copies of the game, you can play as many people as you want. You want to play 50 people in like an ultimate Super-Skill Pinball competition, you could do that. I imagine it would be very chaotic, but fun. Definitely fun, but chaotic. But who doesn't love a little chaos, huh? It's fun. We do have 2 print and plays for this game right now available on our website, so if you want to head over to WizKids.com, if you're curious about the game and you like what you hear today when I'm talking about it and you're like, I'm not 100% sure that I want to buy it, or you want to try it out because you've never played a roll and write before and you're new to the genre, you can absolutely do that. Head on over to WizKids.com, and we do have print and plays of both the Carnival intro table and the Cyber Hack intermediate table. So you can check those out, print them out, give the game a shot, hopefully really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I really think it's great. I'm sure you will too. We love it here. We played it last night. It's just such an awesome game. You're going to have a great time with it. Now, last week we talked about those 2 tables, Carnival and Cyber Hack, and we did get some feedback that some of you kind of wanted to learn a little bit more about how to play the game, and I'm totally happy to oblige that. So first thing we're going to talk about is just how to play Super-Skill Pinball 4K'd, and to do that, I am going to show you with the Carnival table, that is the intro table, that we have the print and play for, so that's kind of what we're going to use as our basis to show you, and then I'll go into talking about the other 2 tables that are involved in the game, Dance Fever and Dragonslayer, which I'm really excited because they're both really cool. They have really fun mechanics, so I'm excited to talk about those. So with the game, each player is going to receive a table. Looks like this for the Dragonslayer table. You can see this on the screen. I am so bad at backwards. This on the screen is the Carnival table. You'll also receive a back glass, and there are 4 of these included in each copy of the game. So, and that's what the back glass for Carnival looks like. And you'll also get a pinball token, which you can see right here. They're very shiny, they're reflective. They're designed to look like actual pinballs, but they're flat on the back, you can kind of hear. So they're really nice, really good to play with. And welcome everyone who's watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to direct them to the chat and I will answer them as best I can. You will also receive, when you play the game, a dry erase marker. And I talked about this last week, but the dry erase markers are really, really nice. They have this really nice angled eraser, and they actually, because of the angle, you can see what you're erasing better. So you can erase things more efficiently, more effectively, and you don't have to risk accidentally erasing something that you're not prepared to erase. So it just makes it a little bit easier to work with. Every player also shares, all players rather, share 1 set of dice. So all dice rolls are shared among all players, and then players get to decide what they do with those dice rolls independently. but the results are shared by everyone. So what's going to happen, I'm going to try and point at this. I wish I had one of those like little sticks like they have in college, because that would be a lot easier. Yeah. So I'm going to try and point to this, and it might be a little wonky. Pray for me. So all players are going to start right here in the start area. You're going to place your pinball token there. And then any one of the players, you can choose one designated player to do it the whole game. You can alternate. It really just depends on how you want to do it. Is going to roll the 2 dice, and you'll have 2 results from that roll. And based on those 2 results, you get to decide where on the table you go, and you get to move your pinball token down the table. You can go down each section of the table by section, so you start at the top and then move down each section if you want to do that. You can go straight from the start area to the bottom of the table. You can skip any sections you want. It's really easy. You can the only rule is you have to go downward. You can't go back up unless you're coming from the flipper area, right over here. But each player only selects on a dice roll 1 result from that dice roll, and that is the result that they will use for that turn. So based on the result they choose, let's just say I rolled a 5. You can choose anywhere on the table that's below your current area. So at the starting area, it's anywhere on the table, but depending on where you are, it's just below you. You can choose anywhere on the table with a 5 on it. There's the 5. 5 there, 5 there. And there's 5 right here, or right here on the drop targets, or you can go all the way down, choose this 5, choose that 5. I'm getting the hang of this. Yeah. Once you make that decision, you move your pinball token to that area, and then you mark off the area that you're on. So say I were to go to this 5 right up here in the Ferris wheels, I would then take my dry erase marker. I would mark it off. I can't actually do that obviously in here, but pretend it's marked off. You mark off that area, and then once everybody's ready, you make the next roll and move on to your next turn. And on your next turn, you do the exact same thing again. You roll the dice, take the result of that roll, and then make your way down the table. Now, some areas, for example, the bumpers up here, whenever you mark off a box, you get a point. And the way you track these points is on the back glass. So you would go onto the back glass and you would mark off one of the stars. You can't see my mouse, what am I doing? You can mark off one of the stars on the back glass each time you earn one. Some will let you earn a lot of stars at one time. Some will only let you earn 1 or 2 stars at a time. It really depends on where you are, what you're doing. Now, as you can see right here, there's a feature called Nudge. Now, what Nudge does is if you're not happy with the results of a dice roll, say you really, really needed a 3, and you guys rolled a 2 and a 4, and your opponent's fine with the 2 and the 4, but you're not. You were like, I need a 3, I want a 3. What you can do is what's called nudging. Now, what nudging does is it lets you modify the result of the dice roll. And then in the nudge box on the back glass, you would write the difference between what the dice roll was and what result you're using. So if, again, you wanted a 3, you rolled a 2, you're going to make that to a 3, you would write 1 in the nudge box. However, the risk of nudging, and you can use that result, so now you can use that 3 however you would normally use a 3. But the risk of nudging is that on the next turn, you risk tilting. And the way to avoid tilting is when you roll the dice, the result of the next die roll has to be equal to or greater than the difference between the number in the nudge box that you just wrote. So if you changed it by like 4, you would be super at risk for a tilt because you would need the dice difference to be 4 or greater, and that's very unlikely. But if you only changed it by 1, you're pretty much safe as long as doubles aren't rolled. You can also only nudge up to 3 times per game, so every time you nudge, you check off one of these boxes. And once you use up all 3, you can't do it again. If you do tilt, the round ends immediately. You lose the ball, you have to start your next ball. You get 3 balls per round, or 3 balls per game. So, you're on your first ball, you accidentally tilt, you finish that ball, you move on to the next ball. You don't have to wait for your opponent to move on to their next ball, so once you guys roll the dice again, you can just proceed as normal. You don't have to wait for your opponent to finish their first ball if you're on your second ball, etc., etc. If if you tilt at the end of your third ball, you lose it. Now, there's also a feature in the game called multi-ball, and what multi-ball does is it allows you to have 2 balls on the playfield at once. And one of the tables we're going to talk about today has a really cool feature with multi-ball, but the thing with multi-ball is that when you have those 2 balls on the table, any dice rolls that you use, you have to pick 1 dice roll for 1 ball and 1 dice roll for the other. So if you roll a 2 and you roll a 3, you pick the 2 for 1 dice roll, or you pick the 2 for 1 ball, and you pick the 3 for the other ball. You can't use 2 for both balls. Pick one or the other. And you designate them to those, and that's how you would play the balls. If you tilt while you are in multi-ball, you lose both balls and you have to move on to the next round. So that's kind of the basics of the functions of tilt and multi-ball. But those are the main things that you track on the back glass for Carnival. That's kind of why I wanted to show you that. Going back to the table, as you can see, there are different bonuses. Multi-ball isn't the only thing that you can activate. You can also activate things like bonuses that allow you to double the scores that you get. There's things like skill shots. Skill shots are really cool. What skill shots allow you to do is they allow you to bank a dice roll. So there are certain times where you can get skill shots. In the example in this table, you gain a skill shot by completing a certain set of drop targets, which are these red and yellow ducky and balloon targets right on the sides here. I believe, oh gosh, hang on 1 second. I just want to make sure that's correct. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I told you the wrong thing, but that's okay, because you know what? Life happens. It's filling 3 Ferris wheels. That's what it is. I knew that too. I don't know what's wrong with me today. So you fill all 3 Ferris wheels in the top. When you fill in all 3 of the Ferris wheels, you gain a skill shot and you get to pick a number and you bank that number. So anytime you're rolling your dice, you're out of nudges or you don't want to nudge and you're like, I really needed a 4 this turn and you didn't get a 4, you can use up that skill shot that you banked a 4 earlier, and you can use that to use a 4 on that turn instead of whatever the result of the dice roll is. So, there are lots of fun different features, and every table has different cool features like this, and those are kind of just the features of, Carnival. Also has the feats of strength feature, but we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. Once you get to the bottom of the table and you reach the flippers, and I moved this, and I should not have moved this. Once you reach the flippers at the bottom of the table, on the next roll you move back up the table towards any feature with a matching color depending on which flipper you landed on. So if you landed on the red flipper over here with a 3, 4, 5, or 6, or you use this 2, which allows you to go directly to a flipper, you can move to any red feature. So on this table, for example, it's the balloons, it's the feats of strength, or the bumpers. If you land on the yellow flipper, you would move to the duckies, the bumpers, or as you can see up here, the Ferris wheels. And this arrow over here is kind of to help remind you of that. But that's pretty straightforward. And then around ends, if you're unable to keep a ball in play, like I said, or if you tilt, and a single game of Super-Skill Pinball consists of 3 complete rounds. So that's kind of how you play the game. Any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. And now what we're going to do is we are going to move on to learning about these special tables, the Dragonslayer and Disco Fever tables, or Dance Fever, not Disco Fever. Dragonslayer. Dragonslayer is really, really cool. So, who's into fantasy stuff? My hand is hidden. I am definitely into fantasy stuff. I love RPGs, I love tabletop games, I love fantasy films, I love Lord of the Rings, anything like that I am super into. So Dragonslayer is right up my alley. What Dragonslayer is it allows you to... Hang on 1 second. Dragonslayer allows you to become an intrepid wizard, just starting out on your adventure. You gain levels to learn spells, grow the dragon's hoard, and then defeat the dragon to capture its hoard. At the beginning of each game of Dragonslayer, you start with a single spell in your spellbook. I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it really quick. I apologize. 4. Okay. So you begin the round with a single spell, or begin the game with just a single spell in your spell book, and the spell book is on the back glass, so you can see it right here. And different spells do different things, and throughout the game you're going to level up and gain more spells, and those spells will get more powerful. They allow you to modify die rolls. You can flip a die to the other side. It gives you multi-ball. It can give you all sorts of cool stuff. We're going to particularly talk about the invisibility spell here at level 5. I'll talk about that in a minute, but there are 2 types of spells. Black spells, which you can cast at any time, or purple spells, which you have to fulfill a certain requirement in completing a certain set of drop targets on the table to activate. And I'll show you what those are in just 1 second, but I wanted to talk about the level 1 spells first. So what's really cool about this table is that you get to start it with a skill shot. So you choose which one you start with. So you can start with any one of the 3 familiars listed here, the 1, 3, or 5, and those will give you a skill shot of that number for the game. And so you start the game with that skill shot, and as you play, you can actually refresh that spell by resting, and I'll explain that too as well. But so you have a resetting skill shot guaranteed, basically, with this. So it's really cool. You kind of wager which die roll you might need at any point in the game, and then play for that. So let me show you the table. So this is the table for Dragonslayer. As you can see, it's got some gorgeous art. It's got a lot going on. It's really cool. I'm going to talk about the different kind of drop targets and everything. So the first thing you want to know about is, how do I gain EXP? How do I grow my levels? How do I get better spells? How do I get the cool spells? How do I get a spell that allows me to get a super huge amount of points later in the game? That is what you want to hit the EXP targets for. So the EXP targets are these purple targets right here. And what the EXP targets do is as you fill them up, when you complete the full set of EXP targets and you cross out all the dice on that target, on all 3 targets, you get to gain a level, and you get to pick a spell from your new level. So as you level up in the game, you get to gain the spells from their level, but you don't gain all the spells for a given level at once. You only gain 1 spell. And you also get to score points for that level, so each level has a different amount of points that you score when you reach that level. So you score the points, you gain the spell, and then when you reach level 6, that's the highest level on the back glass, but when you reach level 6, you earn 5 points each time you level up, and you can learn any spell from any level. So if you're like, I really wish I had gotten that toad familiar, I started with the cat familiar at the beginning of the game, once you reach level 6, you can go back and say, I'm taking the toad familiar right now. So it allows you to expand your spell book, so you could theoretically finish the game with a completely full spell book, which is really cool. If you already know all spells, obviously you can't gain new spells, so you just gain 5 points each time you level up. And what's really cool is the way the bumpers interact with the drop targets, because you can just go back, and if you keep rolling well, you can just go back and forth between each bumper and the drop targets, and the arrows indicate how they can interact. So this bumper on the top can go to the P drop target or the X drop target. If you're on the X drop target, you can go back to the top bumper, or you can go to the bottom bumper. And then if you're on the bottom drop target, you can go to either the E or the X drop target. So it's very flexible. It's designed for you to keep going back and forth on it and allow you to level up quickly, because you have the opportunity to if you consistently roll well. Now I'm sure you're also wondering, what is that silver coin? What is this big grid right here with all the blue stars on it? What is going on? What's the horde? What's going on? So the horde section of the table refers to the dragon's horde. It's all of the points that your dragon is storing, it's hoarding, it's tormenting the village and hoarding all these points, and you want to get the points. So the way you first want to work with the horde is you want to grow it. So it starts completely empty, but each box that's filled in here, as you can see, Each box is worth 2 points. Now, you don't score those points immediately, so as you fill up the hoard, just know that you're banking the value of 2 points each time you fill a box, but you don't score them right away. You gain silver coins, and as you gain silver coins, that's what allows you to fill up the hoard. So you can fill up the hoard in a couple different ways. You can hit the very top yellow bumper here. So anytime you land on this bumper, and you cross out a die, you can gain a silver coin, and the silver coin will let you add one thing to the hoard. You can also fill up your hoard by filling in all 6 scroll boxes right over here. You access those, but you can't access them while dropping down on the table. You can only access them by going up from a flipper. So when you fill all 6 of those in, you gain a silver coin, and you also get to, this is really cool, it also has an additional bonus of allowing you to learn a spell from your level or lower. Another way to gain a silver coin is by filling in the in-lane boxes. Now, the in-lane boxes are these kind of not outside, but they're like these inner outside boxes right here. So this 2 or this 5. And when you land on one of those boxes, you can choose which one you would like to take. If you would like to take points immediately, or if you would like to take the silver coins, which are going to ultimately be worth 2 points. Now, the way you're now wondering, how do I score these points? I can get this crazy amount of points, all these points, but how do I actually get them if I'm just banking them right now? The way you do that is by completing the set of drag and drop targets right over here. There are these red targets. So you can complete that full set, which would mean you keep going back to the red flipper and you can only access them from the red flipper. Or you can cast the invisibility spell, which is a spell that you learn at level 5 or higher. Once you cast that spell, you can use it, you can score the hoard, you collect all those points, but here's what's cool. You collect those points, but you don't erase the hoard. You actually get to keep the points in the hoard, so you can score it again if you later fill in all the drag and drop targets, or you rest and then you cast the invisibility spell again. So the only time the hoard value ever resets is at the end of a round. So if you lose your ball, the hoard value does reset, but if you're still on the same ball, you can keep scoring it, just, hitting the dragons, casting the invisibility spell, dragon, invisibility spell, dragon, invisibility spell. The invisibility spell is obviously, I'll show you just real quick. The invisibility spell is obviously a purple spell. You can see right here, it's purple. So the way you cast a purple spell is by hitting the cast drop targets. So you fill those targets, and once you do that, you can cast the invisibility spell. You also gain points when you do fill those targets, so it's kind of a double thing. But you cast the spell, so you're pretty much just filling different types of targets. Once you cast a spell, like I said, you have to rest to be able to cast a spell again. The way you rest is by completing... I can't do this. By completing these drop targets over here that say rest, these will recharge your spells. So once you rest, you can, reset your spells and cast them again. And that's kind of it for the Dragonslayer table. It's a really cool table. It's really fun. I really like how thematic it is. I like that you're leveling up and you're gaining spells and you're doing all this cool stuff. It's really exciting. It's much more thrilling than I would expect, than maybe you would expect a roll and write to be, because you are leveling up. You've got this epic battle going on with the dragon. You score all these points, and you can... It's hard to see with this picture, but you can actually score even up to 100 points if you fill the hoard all the way in a single ball and then score it. So it's really a great opportunity for scoring a lot of points. So now we are going to move on to the Dance Fever table. Excuse me. The Dance Fever table is really cool. It is the groovy 1970s, and in the Dance Fever table, you want to light up the Disco Inferno dance floor as you boogie under the glow of the sparkling disco balls. So, obviously, this is night and day different from the Dragonslayer table. This one is a dance theme, it's a disco theme, it's a 70s theme. It's super fun. It's got a lot of cool stuff going on. The table features several fun dance-themed special rules, so I'm going to kind of talk about them. So let me get you... This is the back glass, which I'm going to have to go into in detail in a few minutes. We're going to come back to this, so I'm just going to show you the table. This is the table. I love the colors on this. I love purple. I love the sparkliness. Give me all of this. Yes. So there's a lot of things going on. The first thing I'm going to show you is the Boogie bonus track, which is this blue thing right here. So what the Boogie bonus track does is it grants you bonuses when you fill all 3 Boogie drop targets on the right-hand side. So that's these drop targets right here. It starts the round filled at the Hokey Pokey level, which is at the bottom. And then it advances by 1 section for all players each time doubles are rolled. So every time you roll doubles on your dice, it will advance. So it starts at the Hokey Pokey, and then I have to look at the actual physical thing. And then it advances to the Funky Chicken, the Electric Slide, the Bump, and then the Hustle. So really fun. Got those dance names. But so you want to advance it to the top. However, if you're at the top and doubles are rolled, you erase your progress and reset it back to Hokey Pokey. So once you're at the top, you want to try and score those words are hard. Those points right away, and it gives you 15 points. Whenever you hit the Boogie drop targets, it'll give you, if it's at the top, it'll give you 15 points. It'll give you 15 points for the Hustle, 8 points for the Bump, 3 points for the Electric Slide, or 1 point for the Funky Chicken. So you want to try and get it as high as you can, and then complete those drop targets before doubles are rolled again, so that way you can score the maximum possible amount of points. However, the main feature of the table, and I said we were going back to the back glass in 1 second, is the Disco Pinferno dance floor and the multi-ball minigame that's Disco Pinferno. One cool thing I want to mention about this before I get into this is that so when we were first conceptualizing this game, there were, our team put out a call, hey, do you guys have any suggestions for different names that we can use for these tables? And lots of fun things were suggested. I think I suggested Wizard Lizard or something weird for the Dragonslayer. Obviously that didn't go through. But one of the best suggestions that we heard was one of our team members suggested Disco Pinferno. And we didn't wind up going with that for the table, but we really wanted to incorporate it into the game. And so that's where this kind of name for the minigame came from. So this is a minigame that's actually played directly on the back glass. It's a pinball game within a pinball game, which is pretty cool. And so you're playing a smaller version of the pinball table right on the back glass. The way to get into the minigame, and I keep going back and forth here, is when you land on one of these 2 targets right here, it says Start Disco Pinferno Multiball. And when you land on one of those spaces, which you can land on an infinite amount of times, they never get filled in, excuse me, you get to begin the Disco Pinferno multi-ball minigame. And I'm going to go back to this. My face is gone. Hi, sorry. So, Standard multi-ball rules for this are in place, so when you roll 2 dice, you pick 1 result for your main ball, and you pick 1 result for the ball in the minigame. But obviously the playfields won't cross over. Your ball on the table can't get to the back glass, your ball on the back glass can't get to the table, so they still play separately. When you fill in any target on the Disco Pinferno minigame multi-ball table, you get 1 point. And then if you complete either the left or the right side of targets over here, you get to fill the fever bonus thermometer in the middle, and you gain the points noted beside it. So when you complete the first set of targets, either, again, the left 3 or the right 3, you gain 4 points. The second set of targets that you complete is worth 5. The third is 7. The fourth is 10. And the fifth is a whopping 15 points. So you definitely want to complete these sets of targets. They're definitely important to be able to, rack up your points, get the best score, win the game. And, You score 15 points, and then obviously, just like on the main table, when you fill a set of targets, you erase and start again. If you lose your ball on the main table while playing the Disco Inferno minigame, you actually don't start your next ball yet. This is another really cool aspect of that. What you actually do is you continue playing just on the multi-ball table. So you can continue playing the minigame even if you've lost your first round ball, and you don't start your second round or your third round ball until you've lost your ball in the minigame. If you're in the midst of playing the minigame and you're on the main table and you land on the main table on one of the Start Disco Inferno spaces on the main table, I've just said that 4 times in one sentence, go me. On the main table, guys. It's on the main table. You will erase all of the yellow or red filled flippers on the minigame table. So that's not something you can do in the main game. You can't erase from the flippers. You have to wait till the end of a round. But because of the way that the minigame is designed, it's made it so that you can erase those and you can, continue playing, and it allows for you to continue playing forever. So, if you were sitting here thinking, well, you're completing all these targets, but you're going to hit the flippers, how would I be able to, if I'm hitting the flippers, I'm going to be able to not get all the way to the top of the thermometer ever. That's how you get to the top of the thermometer. You keep landing on the Start Disco Inferno space on the main table, and then erasing from the flippers. A couple other features on this table that I want to talk about are the hot stuff, which is right here, the hot stuff zone, and that actually doubles the points gained from Disco Inferno when you fill those, as well as groove bonuses. So you fill in the groove drop targets, these yellow targets on the left-hand side, and they give you different bonuses depending on which one you, or not depending on which one you fill. Depending on what you want. You get to choose, once you fill all of them, what bonus you would like to have. They can double your points, do fun things like that. There are also spinners on the sides that are really cool. So this yellow spinner over here and this red spinner over here. And they actually allow you to go directly back to the disco ball bumpers. And as you can see on this one, the disco ball bumpers are each yellow and red, so you can go from the red flipper or the yellow flipper. And you actually get bonus points from those disco ball bumpers based on your unused dice roll for that turn. So if you rolled a 3 and a 2, and you wanted to land here and use the 2 here, you get bonus points by filling in the 3 here to be able to add points to your score. So that is Dance Fever. It's really cool. It's really funky. I love puns, so I just love the name Disco Inferno. I think that's great. I think that's hilarious. It's really super fun, but that is Super-Skill Pinball. We have now covered all 4 tables here on this show, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed talking about them to you. The game comes out a week from tomorrow. Really exciting, so definitely contact your FLGS if you haven't. If you're not sure if they're getting it in, or if you just want to make sure that you have a pre-order for them, you can contact your FLGS. The game is coming out, like I said, next Wednesday, September 30th, 2020, and it retails for $24.99. So definitely check that game out, and hopefully you will love it. It's really fun. The tables are really fun. You've now seen all 4 of them and how cool they are, so definitely check them out. They're great. Everything's great. You know who's great? You're great. Thanks for watching. My name is Jessa. I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Have a great week.